The following is a special presentation of the Red Stick Business Report. Watch future episodes on Soul of the South or contact your local cable provider.
Hi, I'm Howard White, and I would like to welcome you to the Red Stick Business Report. Hey, this weekly show will introduce you to some of Baton Rouge's most dynamic business and community leaders. The purpose of this show is really to showcase and highlight some of the things and challenges that they've faced in being successful and arriving where they are today. We'll also talk about some of the things that they have planned for the future. So as we get ready to get started, we want you to think about you too can be this individual. So today we will go with our guest, Bishop Raymond Johnson.
Good, Brother Howard, glad to be with you.
Hey, we're glad to have you here. Bishop Johnson is the pastor of Living Faith Christian Center. He's a businessman. He's a leader, national leader. He works with organizations across the country. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But before we get there, we're going to talk about growing up in Byrd Station.
Oh, my goodness. Well, that was home for me. And in those days, you know, people didn't really move that much. You bought a house, and our parents were very fortunate to do that early on. And so just growing up in that one neighborhood, not too far from where the ministry is right now. And so having that stability and family, all those were good inputs into my life. And I'll say that's part of my foundation of what God was doing in me. I didn't realize it, but just as a person and developing that fabric and network to go forward in.
You know, when you talk about Byrd Station, a lot of people today still don't know what Byrd Station is or where it's located. So let's talk about first the church is on Winborn Avenue,
Yes.
and then kind of shape where Byrd Station is.
All right, we could say Choctaw on the south, Winburn on the north, Airline Highway on the east, and say North Foster Drive on the west. So in that little center community, we call it part of North Baton Rouge now, but it's just right in the center of a very, to me, wonderful community that I have quite fond memories.
Okay. You know, we talk about communities, and often that's one of the challenges you have when you look at areas in the inner city in particular now. Talk about the values that were instilled with you, not just from your parents, but different people.
Right. I believe it's a tremendous asset that we have to tap into because from my elementary school, parent organizations, church, Little League ball, the playground with the Breck Parks back in those days. And so you have just a plethora of things that aid in the life of a person growing up that really shapes them into that future person that they're going to become.
You know, no matter what leader I talk to, they talk about that one person. I call it that Mr. Johnson at the corner store, coach, whatever his name is, that just really not only lit into you, but lit a fire in you for you to move forward.
Yes.
I mean, talk about that person or those people.
All right, good. I think one person in particular, probably Mr. Charles Keel. That was my high school principal, and I think he probably was at the top of the list as a person outside of my family that really just had the most influence, a very intelligent, articulate person, well-dressed, educated, and a disciplinarian. And so with those assets, it sort of gave you a good goal or something to shoot at what a man really looks like. You have expectation of your family, but here's someone else outside that really is a shape and mover of your life.
You know, when I think about that, a lot of times in organizations, we're afraid to pour into youth, you know, into young people's lives. What challenge would you offer any grown man of pouring into a young man's life?
Well, I say we miss great opportunities if we don't pour into the lives of our young people. Different society from when I grew up. I think it's necessary, it's mandatory if we're going to see the lives of the people and all the successful businessmen just like yourself and others around you. This is a golden moment to really take the things that you have. You might think you're not going to make that bigger impression or you know, they're not going to really listen to me. You're listening even if you're not paying attention. And it does sink in over a period of time. Later in life, it will pay great dividends.
You know, and that's going to transition us to a period where you were listening and probably not paying attention. That's Southern University. You know.
Yes, that was fun years, great years. You make that transition. You're a young person. Unfortunately, when I went to college, I wasn't focused. Pretty good IQ, could make good grades when I want to. A lot of distractions in college, and I think if I had to write a little book on something, I'd write how to finish what you start in the academic areas. And I learned a lot from Southern University. I used it in my career at Dow Chemical and other things that I'm doing, even in the church now. But it is a goal that if you start, should finish.
I'll talk about that. Moving from Southern University over to Dow Chemical, a lot of people looked at it, well, Raymond went up there and failed.
Yeah.
Talk about learning from those failures.
Well, sometimes I preach a message called take advantage of your disadvantage. So sometimes the very things that were pain in your life really will produce success, that you learn from them, but it's how do you apply those lessons to your everyday life now? How can I use what maybe was a shortcoming, a failure, or a missed opportunity, but say that I'm not going to let my future be controlled by my past.
You said future controlled by your past. I think a lot of people struggle with how do I let it go? If you could just give one tip on how do I let my past go so it doesn't control my future?
Well, you have to believe in yourself. You have to really believe that if you put enough effort into it. I say it's amazing how people who work hard become successful. So it's not that you're the most talented person, but maybe you're the hardest working person. My grandfather, probably in the family, was one of my just motivators of a person with a little bit of education, but he was very successful in life and taught himself many things because he was a go-getter and not a quitter.
That brings up a great point, and we're going to explore that a lot more with Bishop Johnson as we come back in and talk about those transitional years, as I would call it. Hey, you're watching the Red Stick Business Report. Hey, every week we're trying to bring dynamic, exciting leaders who have a story to tell, but more so a lesson to share. A story to tell and a lesson to share is something that we're going to bring to you every week. So we'll be right back with the next segment of the Red Stick Business Report. Thank you.
The following is a special presentation of the Red Stick Business Report. Watch future episodes on Soul of the South or contact your local cable provider.
Hi, this is Howard White, and welcome back to segment 2 of the Red Stick Business Report. I'm here today with Bishop Raymond Johnson. We're talking about some great things and just how Baton Rouge has shaped him, and we're going to get in a little bit about how you started to shape Baton Rouge.
Well, lot of opportunity. I've really been a blessed person in life. Had a few things to overcome in life, but just seeing that, if you work hard, if you're diligent, if you persevere, good things can happen. That's what I would tell young people and people who want to be in business. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to try again, try something different. Maybe that's nobody else has ever tried. That's being on that cutting edge and having people around you to say that they believe in you as well, so that even when everything doesn't work out perfect, you still have some energy left to go forward.
I want to talk about that. You said didn't experience the best of success at Southern University, but learned a lot. Then you went from there to Dow Chemical. Talk about working in a corporate environment, in a structured environment, and some things that could help young people succeed at that.
Well, I had great instructors. We had great leadership at Southern University. Southern was party school back in the day, so and I enjoyed my parties on that. However, I didn't forget the lessons that I did learn in the classroom, and then realizing by then being married, having a family, starting my family, that's great responsibility. And I was always taught to take care of your responsibility, the drill, men should go work, take care of your family. So that was embedded in me. And so when those opportunities open up, I drew from my educational experiences at Southern University, coming up from high school under Mr. Keel and those great teachers that I had, and I realized that if you apply those things with the open doors that were coming to me, that you could get promoted, you could succeed. There were a lot of other ventures that you could get into.
You know, that is a key part is actually answering that call when that door happens. So let's talk about answering a call. A lot of people look at caller ID and say, oh, who is this calling? But when your true calling call, let's talk about starting Living Faith Christian Center.
Well, fast forward in life, you know, as you mature, and this is what I tell anybody, you know, a lot of time youth is, you know, kind of like walking on quicksand. You know, you're making steps, but you're not getting that far in life. I began to, you know, have Christ shape my life, and the things that I was being benefited from, I tried to take those things and put it in the lives of others, got the call of God on my life, and we started literally in my living room, just with a handful of people, sharing the principles of God, and then also that you can succeed if you try.
Now, you talk about that a little bit, and someone's watching saying, Howard, this is a business show. Why do you have a pastor on? But talk about the business side of it and how churches impact businesses.
Well, if you don't run it like a business, I think there'll be a lot of disappointment. People invest. So in business, you have investors. Church, you have investors. Because there's an expectation of those persons who give in the church. They want to see their monies used properly, accountability, nothing frivolous. And so those same principles that you would use with any cooperation from the business side, you have to do it with your accounting, employee development, your resources, managing you know, your inventories, all those things. Same thing for a church as you do. And you know, we kind of got mega dollars, so you still have the same principles you have to use that you use in business.
We're going to back up from, you know, where we are today to
Yes.
back. Let's talk about some of those growth pains. I think that's a challenge people have. They see where you are today, but they don't realize the challenges and struggles you have going on. So let's talk about those growth pains. How do you take steps and step out on that ledge?
Well, I guess one of the things I would say, first of all, is my goal wasn't to get where I am today, but my goal, you know, I learned about short-term goals, long-term goals, and to get to anything big, it takes little steps. The Bible says, do not despise the days of small beginnings. So those little incremental steps, and a lot of them were very disappointing, heartbreaking. You feel like you're putting in much more than what you're getting back. So just like with many business people, you know, you work, you're getting a little bit of results. But if I could just, you know, tell you, you know, speak to your future, is like, hey, those are the very steps that's going to be your success.
You know, earlier today I was speaking to a group in reference to relationships and connecting. Talk about a couple of those lifelong relationships that have helped you advance at Living Faith.
Again, I'm very fortunate that just like when I was in the chemical industry, in the church world, you know, I met successful people who, you know, great character, integrity, family values, and then learning, you know, financial principles of success. And so having mentors where people would take you aside, and it's not just, oh, I just prayed and God just showed me. No, here's a principle here, work this. Here's another principle, work that. And having those people in my life and honoring them and giving value to them in return, it gave me a place of constant sowing and drawing from them. So when I get to another level, I have somebody else I can pull from again.
You know, there's a statement I would like for you to comment on, and it's basically, success is determined by the people you know, the people that know you, and how you manage that relationship.
Right.
If you would comment on that briefly.
Yes. I believe in life that we all have people that come in and out of our lives. I think you have to recognize, number one, those persons who come in that's adding that value to you. And then secondly, using them, you know, taking those people and saying, I'm going to use them to help me get to all the places I need to get.
You know, that is, I think that's critical. I've heard you call them as bridges,
Yes.
supports.
Yes.
You know, we definitely got to have those type of people. You know, as we get ready to wrap up this segment, we want to explore a couple other things in the next segment, and that's going to be what's in store for Baton Rouge. I think that's going to be critical as we look at it from the business scene and the type of things that we're doing here in the Baton Rouge market. So you're watching the Red Stick Business Report, and we will see you in the next segment.
The following is a special presentation of the Red Stick Business Report. Watch future episodes on Soul of the South or contact your local cable provider.
Hi, I'm Howard White, and welcome back to our third segment of the Red Stick Business Report with Bishop Raymond Johnson. Bishop, let's get into Baton Rouge now, but I want to carry over something that we didn't get quite finished, and that's those relationships, importance of relationships to success.
Well, the people that God brings in, the open doors of education, speakers like yourself who bring that good information, those are opportunities waiting to blossom in your life. And so we could talk to young entrepreneurs, young students, learn to recognize them and then fully take advantage and then use the information that you're getting. It will work.
Well, let's talk about some of the business opportunities that you explored. Once again, it is a business show, but I really believe that community leaders impact business.
Right. Well, we have quite a few business people in our church, so the principles I try to teach, especially in Bible studies and things like this, is those points of integrity. The Bible talks about a balanced scale. In other words, it's fairness. If I want to make money, I need to give a good product. I need a quality product. And if you teach that honesty, character, all those basic things, people love to deal with business people who are fair and that have great integrity.
We talk about business impact of Baton Rouge. Last 2 years, you've hosted a conference called MOVE here. Talk about how did you start that organization, one of the founding fathers of it, but then also the economic impact to the community.
Right. Because I was so grateful for the people who added to my life, I said, Lord, you bless me. I want to be able to put back in other pastors, young pastors. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. Put the classes together. You taught in our convention this year solid biblical principles that can be used to help pastors and leaders and others in that church grow. And we have a great impact on Baton Rouge because people fill up hotels, they ate food here, they bought gasoline here, they shopped in the malls. So I don't know what our economic impact would be. I wish we could measure it, but I would say they're probably in the tens of thousands of dollars, even with just a conference the size that we had.
When you look at an organization like that look to develop leaders, talk about the importance of developing leaders in organizations, whether it's a church, business, nonprofit.
Well, for the people who didn't have a chance to go to college or some kind of leadership institute, the principles that we teach, the Bible is full of them on how to be, number one, building yourself, number two, building relationships, and then the pride that you take in the work and excellence. Work is not a bad, it's a four-letter word, but it's not a bad word. And so when you put those things in, and you probably have people watching who desire to be successful, they know that it's on the inside of them, but it's taking these simple, practical things, use them every day, and if you don't quit, you will succeed.
You're talking about don't quit, you will succeed. And you keep going back to that work principle. Sound like someone drilled that into you, and I think that was your father, I believe.
Yes, my grandfather probably was my premier person because he come over on Saturday mornings, get up 6 o'clock in the morning. I was like, hey, we went to school all week, I need to rest. But it's like, no, your opportunities are waiting while you're resting. And so from a little boy all the way up, those things are drilled on the inside of me. And I don't think you have to separate that from church and worship and all those things because our staff, you have to work. I hold them to a very high standard. We believe in excellence in everywhere. God is worthy of excellence. And so if you can do those things in the church world, you can do it in the business world, and you can succeed.
Now, you mentioned the word opportunity. So let's talk about what opportunities exist for churches to help businesses grow in Baton Rouge and in general, not just Baton Rouge.
Right. Well, one of the things we have at our disposal, number one, is the people resource. and then wide range of talents and gifted people, educational backgrounds, and then opportunity with facilities to bring and to host people like we do with the Financial Peace class, where we're teaching people economic principles for their lives. So it's hard to do a business. If your credit is bad, your business credit is going to be bad. So one thing builds on top of another.
You mentioned that, and we're going to get a little selfish here, and you don't have to cut your answers short. Let's talk about some of the outreach that Living Faith does in the community and some of the good, because a lot of times as leaders that are not selfish, you don't want to brag about it, but facts are facts. And let's talk about some of the things that you're doing in the community to impact the community.
Well, just over the years, number one, I really believe in our school systems. There's a lot in the news about it. I love young people, and so one of our key things is to sow financially, sow with our time, resources into the education from elementary all the way up. We have our own daycare center where we employ people. We have our school, we have a summer camp. So we put into the lives of people there. But then we go further by trying to support local business people. If we know them, and then we try to divert business there so we can make an economical impact by bringing those monies and encouraging others to do it. I believe we ought to support Baton Rouge. I think when you have the opportunity to shop locally, you ought to do it. Our restaurants, hotels, other businesses for purchasing things just like you do with Top Choice. We do a good bit of business with you and looking to do even more. So if one church could do it, what about all the churches if we concentrated carrying the same principles out and then drawing from even further out? I think Baton Rouge has a great future based on the leadership that I see here.
Economic consolidation, the power of that punch. As we get ready to wrap up this show, this song, Funny How Time Flies, in my generation it was Janet Jackson. I believe it was someone else. I don't remember who originally wrote it. Yeah. But I like to ask that legacy question. The legacy question, what is it that Bishop Raymond Johnson wanted to be remembered as, not just by his family, but in that one statement, that one sentence?
I want to be a trailblazer. I want to be a person that gives back. When you've been blessed, I think if you can just say that I helped others, I gave back, it wasn't just about me. I think you reach a point in life when it's not about your success, but how you can help other people be successful. That's where I want to live at right now.
And that's something I challenge our listeners to do is write that one statement saying, hey, this is how I'm going to be remembered, because we too shall pass that way, and someone will make that one statement. So it's time for you to write that statement. Well, as we get ready to wrap up this week's edition of the Red Stick Business Report, I want to say thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you learned a few things and you're able to reach out to us and let us know that you did. With that, we'll be looking at coming back next week with some exciting business leaders and community leaders to hopefully give you more insight into Baton Rouge, as well as to give you a nugget or two that you can plug into your GPS and take you down that road of life. Until next time, I'm Howard White, and I enjoy being with you.